Well, hi there. Today we're going to take a look at creating digital assessment using Google Forms and a really unique script called Flubaroo. The really cool advantages of this are that it allows you to create a self-grading digital assessment that includes video, images, and text, multiple choice questions, fill in the response, multiple choice with multiple correct answers. So it's pretty advanced stuff. Furthermore, it emails the students out the grades. So let's take a look. Started. We're going to come over here. We're going to click on our Create button, all right, which is going to offer us some options as to what we want to be creating. Now, for our purposes, we are going to be creating a form. It's going to jump us here to the beginning of our assessment, but I want to do first is choose a theme, and you'll see that later on. We'll choose Books Classic, all right, it's a classic thing for school. Click OK. All right, and we can also come up here. We'll title it. We're going to title this the Bill of Rights. Okay, it's our name of our learning activity. Now we can begin just by adding questions if we want to. Okay, but I want to scrap that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an item. Notice when I add an item, it gives me choices as to what I want to add. Do I want to add a paragraph text where students type out their answers? Short answer. Okay, multiple choice. Checkboxes is multiple choice with multiple correct answers. All right, I can also add some other neat things. I can add images, I can add video. So for us, we're going to start out by adding some images. And I already took a screen capture, a Command-Shift-4, of my first image, all right, which is just some text on the Bill of Rights. All right, it's going to upload it for me. If I want, I can add some instructions here for the students. Read the text below and answer the following questions. Alright, cool. So I'm going to click Done. There it is. I'm going to add item, add another image. Okay, come back here to my second picture, which has the remainder of the text, and it's going to add it for me. Alright, cool. So each time I'm done with something, I'm going to click Done. So this gives us a sense of what our text looks like so far. Okay, I want to add an item. And for the purposes of this, I'm going to click multiple choice. Okay, my question title is going to be which of the following are not true of the Bill of Rights? Okay, so that's going to be one of our questions. I can click here to add different answers. Okay, it was authored, A-U-T-H, or authored by Thomas Jefferson, okay? Or we can add it was authored by Madison. Okay, cool. So that gives you a sense of creating a multiple choice question. We can go on infinitely adding questions. Okay, as I mentioned, there's a variety of other types of questions we can add. Okay, I can do checkboxes, and in this case, okay, notice it's a box instead of a little square, and I can say there are 2 correct answers, and then give a list of 5. Okay, another really cool thing that I can do is if I want to add a digital video. All right, let's just get a sense of what it looks like to add digital video. I'm going to click here on video, and it's going to tell me directly that I'm going to take stuff from YouTube. So the cool part is it's just going to stream right off of YouTube. Now I found this video earlier. It is a TED Ed video. If you've not experienced TED Ed, it's a really cool resource. Okay, so it opens with the classic TED component. Alright, so I want this, so I'm going to grab the URL, and I'm going to come back here. I'm going to paste it in, and it's going to search for it, and it's like, hey, is this what you want? That is what I want, indeed. Alright, so I'm going to select that, and it should upload it on there for me. Okay, so there we see my video is there. I can also add instructions here. Done, and then below there I can add further questions corresponding to the video by clicking Add Item. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and populate the rest of this field to give you a sense of what it can look like with a whole series of questions in there. Alright? A little bit more in detail to our assessment on the Bill of Rights. Okay, and first thing I want you to notice is that I asked the students to fill in their name and their email address. And notice this little red guy next to it. Okay, that's because I clicked that to be a required question. Right? I will never again get a paper without a student's name on it because they can't submit it without it. Okay, same thing with email. Then below that, we see the images of the text that I had included. Right below that, I created my questions as part A, part B, evidence, selected response questions. So the first one here is asking for the meaning of the word prohibitions in the first paragraph. Okay. Then we come down here and the students are asked what evidence from the text supports your answer from part A. So they have to engage in a close reading by jumping back to the text and trying to figure out how they're determining the meaning of the word prohibition. So the language arts skill, the cross-curricular connection here is that I'm asking them to use context clues to determine the meaning of an unknown word. Alright, scrolling down a little bit further, this is asking the central idea or the purpose of the Bill of Rights according to the article, and then again, what evidence did you use to come to that conclusion? Okay, so is there evidence from the last paragraph or evidence from the second paragraph? Again, encouraging a close reading of the text. Okay, so here we see that video that I had mentioned, the 3-minute guide to the Bill of Rights that I found on YouTube. It's created by TED Ed. And in this instance, I've created a question where there are multiple correct answers. Now, just for fairness for children, I'm saying that there's 2 correct answers. All right, so whereas with your standard selected response question, I can choose once. I'll have to do that actually when we jump into taking it. But you'll see that I'll be able to, for question number 3, choose multiple correct answers, and you know that because this is a box instead of a circle. And for number 4, I'm again asking the meaning of a word and asking for evidence as to how you came to that conclusion. Coming down here, we have the Fifth Amendment and a question around the Fifth Amendment. And I can go on infinitely by adding items if I want to. Now, if I want to see what this is going to look like on the internet, all right, we're going to come up here. It says View Live Form. So if I click that, it's going to jump to my live form. Now, if I'm done and I want to send this out there, okay, I'm going to do so just by using this URL right here. Okay, so this is what it looks like in its completed form for students to be taking. And I'll actually take it in a moment. All right, but if we jump back to it, here we are. We go back to edit this form. Okay. Also, I just want to point out that if we go to embed, okay, it's going to give me an embed code. So if I want to actually embed that inside a website, this is the embed code that I can use to do that. So if I go back to my live form, we'll just pretend that I'm a student, and you'll see me fill it out. Okay, and then I'll put in my email address. Okay, and I'm going to kind of come through it answering some of my questions. What is the meaning of the word prohibition? To forbid something. The way that we have figured this out is placing specific limits on government power. Now I know that because I created the question. Part 2, describe the purpose of the Bill of Rights. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to answer all these questions. And when I'm done, okay, I also mentioned that I would illustrate how this has multiple correct answers you can choose. When I'm done, the way that I'm going to submit it is I'm simply going to click Submit. And that is going to go to a spreadsheet within my Google Drive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this a few times under the different names and email addresses so you get a sense of what it looks like and how it's going to go ahead and grade it for you. And taken this assessment a few times just so that we have kind of enough information so you can see what the self-grading feature looks like. So if I'm to jump back here to my drive, okay, we'll see I renamed the file amendments, and here we have amendment responses. So if I click on responses, it's going to bring me to a spreadsheet. Okay, so the first person to answer it was John. Okay, and then moving across, right, these are the answers that John put in. Okay, if we come down here, all right, the second group of answers, this is what our answers look like. Now that's pretty cool because it gives us the information in a spreadsheet. However, it's not the easiest thing to grade. All right, so here's what we can do about that. What we're going to do is we are going to insert what's called a script. Okay, so we're going to go to Insert and Script, and then it's going to allow us to search for the script that we want. For our purposes, the script that we're going to add is called Flubaroo, right? F-L-U-B-A-R-O-O, Flubaroo. Much debate as to how that's actually pronounced, but we will we'll search for it. My understanding is that it was created by a teacher. Here we go. We're on Flubaroo, so I'm going to install it. It's going to take a moment to install, and it's going to ask some permissions to run. So authorization is required. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click continue. All right, and it's going to say here's all the things that it's going to want to have the permission to do. So I accept for permission basically to send email as me. So now when I click close, all right, we'll notice that on my toolbar here, Flubaroo has been added. Okay, pretty cool. So if I click on it, I'm just going to say I want to grade my assignment. And what it's going to do here, see where you just have student submissions, it's going to add another page for me. So it's going to ask next the things that I want it to do. So first off, name, that's going to identify a student, and email, yes, that's going to be a student identifier as well. Okay. However, if I wanted to, I could change it to a point system, or I could click skip grading. So for this purpose, I want to identify the student. Now, this first question, okay, I'm going to say that it'll be worth 1 point. Okay. However, I could make it worth 2 if I wanted to, and then this is nothing. I'll go skip grading on that. Okay, this will make 1 point. All right, but I can add different values to any of the different questions. Okay, so when I am done adding values and making sure that the name and email identify the student, I'm going to click continue. And it should take just a moment. There's only 5 things here to grade. All right, so it's going to ask me which of these I want to be, see, the answer key. All right, now I took my time on the last one, so I'm going to say that this last one will be my answer key. However, I could choose any of them to be the answer key, and then I'm going to click continue. So now what it's doing is it's actually grading the assignments. So I'm going to click view grades. Okay, and here we have, oh, I missed one question here. The other 2 scored 100% relative to my guide. Okay, so I can jump back to my original student submissions, okay, or here to my grades. That's pretty cool, right? Because hypothetically now I know the grades of this assessment, albeit formative or summative, prior to the class actually being over, all right? But to take it even a step further, okay, not only does it do that, it also, if I had questions that students chronically missed, it would highlight them in yellow, and it's going to call them low scoring questions. So that way I can know as the teacher that I really need to reteach that, that subject area. Okay, so now to take feedback even further, I can click back on it, and I'm going to say that I want it to email the grades. All right, so it's running my script. Okay, and I can add a message, right? Here are the results to today's assessment. Okay, be sure to do the corrections. All right, now it's going to say which one do you want it to come from. All right, and those are the 2 student identifiers. I'm going to want it to send to the email addresses. Okay, and this is important here. You can either include the answer key or not. Okay, I know a significant concern for many teachers would be if you include an answer key, you won't be able to use it in the future. All right, but we're going to want to include the answer key just for the purposes of what we're doing here. All right, and I'm going to click continue, and it's going to send out emails of the grades to particular students. Now, I'm sure you heard my email ping there. All right, so I'm going to click on it, and I should have a grade as to how I did on this assessment. Okay, so that was my score. All right, and I'm sorry, this here is the number of emails sent. So this is what the teacher will receive. Let me click back on this one. This is the student score. Okay, so I took it as a student. I got 8 out of 9 correct. All right. Here we see the information as to what I got wrong. This is cool because it's asking me, or it's showing me that I got it wrong. Here was my answer, okay, and this was the correct answer. So very cool. Flubaroo and Google Forms allows us to create an online assessment that gives students almost instantaneous feedback. All right, I hope you enjoyed.